5 people out are willing to rotate on a facilitator. Yes, you. Or Aaron, and Ryan,
Aaron will do
Teresa.
it. Won't you? You gotta learn the rules though.
Yeah, I gotta
You're
refresh myself on
You're
the
not
GA rules.
real good at following rules.
Anti-authority.
I made a rough draft agenda. If people want to pass it around, I need one, I guess.
Hey, can I share that with you, please?
Can we add to that agenda? Because I really think we need to start working on our website. Because well, a lot of us are at least me and my grandmother are having great deal of trouble finding out about the meetings and things. Because we're not very organized on where we're going to have our information gathered.
We can do that in committee reports, which is a committee is, I believe, that's part of it.
Okay.
IT committee.
And I get lost on what committees we have and don't have and who's on them too, so I kind of prevent census of committees. I just put down a bunch of stuff that I thought we'd want to talk about, that's all.
Okay. Location.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Alright, so the most important thing, where everybody tells, I went to Occupy New Orleans for about an hour just to talk with some people this weekend, and everyone stresses the importance of the General Assembly rules of how to communicate. So I'll kind of go over that real quick. This means I agree. Okay. This means I'll go either way, take it or leave it. No real passion about either way. This means I disagree. Okay. This means I want to say something about the topic. Okay. There may be times when many people want to say things, and the facilitator will pick, okay, you, then you, then you, then you. May not even go in that order, but at least we kind of know, okay, you're on stack. That's called being on stack. So if we can, try to avoid just talking. If you have something you want to say, do this. Any type of, this is point of process, which means I have an announcement, or we're getting off topic, or point of, we need to get clarify what we're doing. Point of process is this sign.
What do you call that?
I forget.
Direct response.
Direct response, thank you. Any type of proposal, motion, whatever decision that we're going to make. At this stage, if we get big enough, we'll go to a 90% override, but at this stage it needs to be 100% consensus. Okay, which means everybody does this. Okay. If you disagree with whatever it is, and this should be done rarely, you can give a block, which is basically a veto, and everybody has veto power. Okay.
It's only to be used if you find it like morally reprehensible. It goes against your ethical code. Something like if this motion passes, then I'm leaving.
Right.
That kind of thing.
It's a deal breaker kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Okay. Yeah. So it should be used rarely.
Could I have a subject on that? On the West Coast, they're finding the 100% consensus is disruptive to the process and it's slowing everything down. Some of the groups have gone to 90%, and then if you don't meet the 90%, they go back to committee to readdress it. When it comes back out of committee, it goes to 80%, and they're at least able to keep things moving in a consensus. I would consider that for your group if small numbers.
That's a good point.
Yes.
With this small a group, I think they can get 100% consensus. Most, and then if it gets to the point that we're dragging things out, then we could consider altering that.
we have yet to have anybody do this on anything. So I think that, until we run into some of that, then I think 100% will work. I mean, you know, right now, we've been talking about this for a long time. We got like 12 people here, so 10, something like that. So at that, you know, at those numbers, I think it's possible for now. If we get up to 50, it'll probably have to go to the 90% override. Jackson right now just uses 90% override, and they're at decent numbers. So, okay. Anybody have any questions about General Assembly?
I think we should write down our General Assembly rules, something like that, draft them, to a sheet of paper or something.
I'm doing,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm doing notes, and if you want, I can type up a nice cohesive version of them.
I think that'd be very nice.
Put it on the website whenever it's ready.
Okay. Thank you.
But, you know, until then, you know, I guess I could, you know, you can't really upload files to Facebook, but I could email it out, you know.
I'm good. Because I'm thinking about, at least in this meeting, I need to know what we're gonna put on this website so that I can at least start it up.
Mhm.
Because we
Well,
have.
I'll send you a nice copy of the rules.
Thank you.
I got your email.
Kat, can you speak to that? Because I think I've lost it already. But don't you have the articles that CJ gave us with the little signs?
You know, I thought I did, but then I realized that I don't know where I put them.
Okay. Well, I have.
But it can be printed off from any of the Occupy Together or Occupy Wall Street or anything like that.
What do they have, pictures of gang signals or something?
Yeah,
Mhm.
they have
Yeah, I can
all
find
that stuff online.
Oh, yeah.
You can find that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll find that. Okay.
So the next thing, and this is the big topic really, is location of the occupation.
It was me, Eric, and Will went on a little scouting trip up and down Biloxi Gulfport all the way to Long Beach. Yeah, survey team. The best spot we found is Geist Park, which is right at Biloxi Small Craft Harbor. The Small Craft Harbor is open 24 hours a day. Geist Park is subject to park rules and park hours, but if they kick us off the park, we can just move to the sidewalk adjacent to it at the harbor because it's open 24 hours a day. So if we do have a conflict, then we can just shift it a few feet and still be within the public space. Another good thing is it's right next to the casino for restrooms and hygiene, and it's right across the street from the Biloxi Town Green. So
Cool.
it's very centralized location. We didn't run into any other really good spots. I mean, as far as a lovely area to do it would be Long Beach Town Green. But then again, you run into the Town Green problem. You got, you know, they have the farmers markets right down the road, but they also have events that are scheduled to be at least once or twice a month ad infinitum. You know, so that, as far as what we saw, that was the closest to a high traffic area, and it's nice soft firm ground, nice firm ground, a lot of shade, though we are going to have a problem with the wind coming off the water. Of course, anywhere along Highway 90, we're going to have a problem with the wind coming off the water.
I'm sure we're gonna want to like take a stack on this one. So, Kat, Teresa, Tom. Okay, go ahead, Kat.
Okay, my thoughts are, we're gonna have problems no matter where we are. We're gonna run into resistance because the city's gonna want us to stop doing what we're doing. They're gonna try and push us out. We just have to keep going with it. I mean, there's no way to get out of not having any kind of conflicts with the city.
Teresa.
I was gonna say that we might actually should do what Jackson did and approach the cops first, you know, and try to get them on our side, which is not necessarily as hard as it might seem. In Biloxi in particular, we might be able to do it now. I worked at Waffle House for 14 years, and cops love Waffle House, and they're a lot of something I might be able to pull off if I talk to the right people. You know, actually talk to the cops before we try to occupy somewhere, you know, and say, you know, feel free, like, if you tell them something like, feel free, you know, to, you know, come in and, you know, bust any criminals, you know, that are doing something like, you know, smoking weed, you know, because if we got people, you know, on the property trying to give us a bad name, obviously we want the cops to talk about that. We'll have our own ground rules to say, don't do this at the occupation, and, you know, if we're cooperative with them on that front, they might be sympathetic. Now, how do you spell this park that you're talking about?
GUICE.
G-O-I-C-E?
GUICE.
Oh, G-Y-C-E.
Did it? Teresa? Are you done? Tom?
Now, if I know that location, I think I do. There is a large tree in that
There
park,
are a couple large trees.
real close to the corner, as I recall. That is the area that Glenn and I did our little demonstration about. It was St. Patrick's Day, I think, because there was a big parade down there. It's an excellent location, I think, you know, for high visibility because of the traffic and everything that's there. It was huge that day. He had not checked thoroughly with the police before, and he had this huge sign that we erected against the tree. And after we spent about 45 minutes putting it up, the police came and said, "You've got to take this thing down." So I think that, is it Teresa, is that right? I think that idea is a good one, to have that discussion and build relationships with the police first, just to avoid any kind of unforeseen disruption, you know.
Yeah, I don't know any of them personally, but I have a feeling that if I attempt to network, that I'll eventually find somebody that knows the right people. I just have to,
Derek,
sorry.
What happened to the idea of going to the city? I mean, is it one of those things we'd rather ask forgiveness than permission? Are we so sure that the city would turn us down? In other words, if all of this is under the city, the police, and so why not just say to the city council or the mayor? I thought that's why when we were talking about Jones Park at the General Assembly, that we said, you know, anybody know George Slogel? And I do know George Slogel pretty well. I don't know Hall Clay or whatever. Isn't that the mayor?
Yeah, my mom also knows Schlegel, you know, yeah.
But at any rate, my question is, rather than going informally to the police, do we have some objection to going formally through the city? And I mean, I can see some possible problems with that.
Yes.
If we got their permission, it would be the safest.
I think that's the best thing to do, to go and let them put the parameters that you're gonna work in. Let them know if you're gonna need a permit, let you know if the sign's too big against a tree, and then you know what you're going into, and you've already got the ground rules. They're gonna change the rules as they get to dislike you, but at least we know, you know, what the parameters are, and I think that's the suggestion.
Anyway, okay, Teresa?
I just need to know people's names so I can write them down in notes. I know,
Yeah.
like, half the people's names, you know.
Right, what was your name again?
Almer.
Al, I can't remember. Al
I'm
Murray.
Helen, and it's spelled with an O, and most people can remember it that way because it's so weird.
What's that
Yeah,
name?
Helen,
Okay. Okay,
I'm sorry, I forgot it already, that bad.
Al Murray.
Elmer. And what was your name?
Tom,
I'm Tom.
Tom.
Baldwin. Okay, Helen, did you want to say something?
I forgot.
Okay.
Senior moments come frequently.
My thoughts on that is there gonna be they're not gonna give us a permit to do it for indefinitely, 24 hours. Now, I guess there might be a way that we can ask for a permit for the first day, and then we can decide if we wanna stay or not, which is what a lot of how it started out. I don't know, that strikes me as a little bit, I don't know. I've gone back and forth in my mind on the whole asking for permission thing, and I'm really not sure what the right course of action is. And, Kat, and then Helen.
If they do require that we get a permit, who's gonna pay for the permit?
Mhm.
I know I can't afford to pay for the permit.
This gets me back, and then I think you'll do remember too, our needing a lawyer, and whatever happened to the Riley Morris contact.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, she's never shown up again. I do know Riley Morris also, so I would be happy to call Riley unless somebody knows him better than I do, which I doubt, since.
Wow.
ACLU is offered on their site that if there's issues that come up, that you need to contact them, and they have lawyers that would possibly do it for us. So, there used to be one here on the coast that was involved with a protest down in Waveland in the casinos down there. So, I think he's retired, but I have contacts with others if you need ACLU input. Asking for a permit, you're right, that under the protest, we have a right to be there by free speech, and the permit thing is above and beyond, and at that point, we can get a lawyer. I just wanted to throw out in smaller cities that are happening in California, like Sacramento and stuff, where there are permits required. What they're doing is they're working their protest around that. They're meeting for those hours every day. They're doing marches from point A to point B, so that they're being seen, you know, and the numbers, a lot of them, especially in Sacramento, which is a smaller retiree community, you know, they don't have the numbers to be out all night. So they're working around the rules and still making a showing on a daily basis or every other day or whatever works out for them. But just an idea.
So are they not occupying in these situations?
Because of the age of the communities, they're not occupying overnight per se, but they're doing showing and demonstrating and being out on the street on a certain time frame in certain places. If the permit becomes an obstacle and we don't want to go with the ACLU assist or some of those other avenues, or if, you know, we don't even know what the police parameters are right now. They might accept that it's First Amendment and not want to get into a legal battle. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what the unknowns are. But there are other options to do beyond actually setting tents and occupying a ground. You can come there every day at 6 in the morning and you can leave when it gets dark and no one knows the difference. You know, there are ways around it that can still make a presence and still make a protest. But ideally, Occupy would be ideal. That would be.
Yes.
I really think this is way too early for us to start our occupation without more numbers. Just, I'm not sure I know we're probably gonna have enough people to start one, but I think we really need more numbers and to get ourselves, more well known, per se. I don't know how we can accomplish that, but as they say, baby steps toward doing it. I think this is just a little too difficult.
I agree.
I am planning to occupy on Friday wherever we decide at this meeting. Whoever wants to be with me can be with me. I'll occupy alone if I have to.
Yeah, my thoughts on that, and that was my feeling as well, was too early. We should, you know, when I first came here, whoa, why would someone occupy us? And somebody on the Facebook page said it best, you know, quoting Field of Dreams when it said, "If you build it, they will come." And because my experience, especially at Occupy Jackson, New Orleans is going to be different about everything, including occupying anything. They're going to be different. They're just New Orleans. But especially at Occupy Jackson, it was the feeling of what the movement gave me that I think is kind of infectious was less of protest so much and more of community. Take care of each other. Let's, you know, because we don't all agree, right? And at Occupy Jackson, they don't all agree. You got your Ron Paul libertarians on one side, you got social, you know, I mean, we're, you know, probably the only ideology we don't have is conservative. That's it, okay? But all the rest of us are all over the place, and yet these people can get together and agree to disagree and still find common ground. And then once they find that common ground, they can mobilize and go to it, okay? And that was so that's why I would like to occupy to get that sense of feeling as soon as possible. And it might be an utter failure, who knows? But I really think, I don't know if I also think occupying will help us get more numbers. You know, because what I noticed was there were people who were not maybe like regulars in Jackson that still kind of came around just to see what's going on. You know, there were homeless people eating the donuts, okay, and that was cool. I mean, I did the same thing at Catholic Charities, fed the homeless. Occupy Jackson is doing the same thing Catholic Charities is doing, feeding the homeless, but it's a lot less formal, you know. And the lines between us and them aren't there. We're all people, you know. That's what was cool about it. So that's why I want to occupy to try to recreate that, because I think that's really what the movement is about more than, I think all of the protest is an extenuation of the occupation. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say on that front, that's one of the reasons why it's really important for us to approach the police beforehand, because if not, we might end up getting a situation like Zuccotti Park where they send the criminals our way, you know,
Yeah.
because that's been a really big problem for them, you know, and the cops, you know, and them aren't getting along in general, so they started sending crackheads and, you know, all kinds of mentally disturbed people down to Zuccotti Park.
They had the issue with that in San Diego, but they have a huge homeless population, and the press caught on the homeless people there, but in fact the homeless wanted to be with them because the drugs weren't there. They were self-regulating, and they felt safe in the numbers, and they have a right to protest too, more than anybody else, I think.
Yeah.
But to agree on your point, you need Occupy, and I think they'll come. I think you'll find people coming out that, and when they can too. San Diego has 53 people that were arrested the other night when they stormed in the square. During the day, I was down there several times. It's up to 150 during the day, and then when the labor got involved, when that poor kid got shot, that vet up in Oakland, the labor came out, the vet groups came out, and I think if it catches here, you're going to have no problem with numbers. I think that getting something started.
My real thing is this is a very conservative area, and I could see it happening in these other areas, but there's not going to be that many people. I don't think that we can really attract, is my main point.
And I was going to say the same thing, that we do need to consider the conservative nature of the community, but hearing everybody else, I'm changing my mind and agreeing with what they're saying about the Occupy being a statement that everybody understands. I think though that he's speaking for some of the elderly here and the very young who won't be able to come and stay for any length of time. So that may be part of his concern. I know I can't, and I don't think Ed is, we're not gonna stay overnight. But that doesn't mean that it can't happen.
Okay. Want to process it?
Yes, we need to get back on topic and discuss the location of the occupation.
Before we do that, I just wanted to say that I feel the same fears, and I acknowledge it, and it's a definite reality. You're right.
Let's table the proposition.
Yeah. I still would like to, do we want to make a motion to pick a place for
Let's vote on the committee's findings, and let's vote yes or no, or go on from there. I mean, that's my suggestion. Point of order.
Yeah, Eric and Will couldn't make it tonight, but they both agreed with me on that point. I mean, that looked like the best place on the coast for us.
this would be my proposal, and you said Friday night? God, I'm not gonna be here Friday night, but we have a General Assembly in Friday night at this park, or Friday during the day, let's say 3 p.m. 4, after work, 4, because it needs to still be day too. And at that General Assembly, whoever's facilitating, whatever, we can table the whole, whether or not we're staying the night or not at that General Assembly. but it'll be, in other words, all I'm proposing is our next General Assembly will be at 4 p.m. this Friday at Guys Park. Okay, so
Unanimous.
that's done. Okay, next on the agenda is committee reports. I can, on the outreach committee, and this might encourage or alleviate some of the fears, but I met with a member of the IBEW, and you know, a lot of people are on our side of the fence, are pissed off about the elections, and are pretty excited. I got the number for the president of CLO, and their next meeting, they're not sure because they usually meet every fourth Thursday, and this, of course, the fourth Thursday of November is always Thanksgiving. But we're not sure if it's going to be Wednesday the 16th, no, Thursday the 17th, which is a day of action, I think, or the next week. But anyway, they want us to bring a representative or two or three to talk at their CLO meeting, which is a whole bunch of different labor unions.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even really sure. I just talked to him a couple hours ago.
It's like Coast Labor Organization, something like that.
Anyway, I talked to a couple guys, and they are pretty excited about it. They definitely want us there. So what we really do need to do is establish a couple people that would like to go to this meeting and basically say what we're about and what we can offer. You know, coalition kind of thing. You know. I'd be willing to do that. I like a couple other people, and we can talk about it on Friday or whenever we're occupying later too. But that's what's going on that front. Also talked to the one of the ladies at AFT. She even said she might even come tonight, but obviously she didn't. But you know,
What is that?
American Federation of Teachers.
Okay.
The biggest thing that's going on now that's going to be coming out, they've met behind closed doors and haven't really talked about it, but the whole PERS thing, which is teacher retirement. A lot of them, there's a lot of, especially Republicans in the state legislature, want to cut teachers' retirement, which of course was promised, you know, to them, of course, when they get hired. So I'm sure we'd all agree that that would be a bad idea. So some sort of action. Some sort of action to take against that would be necessary. You know, we're all still kind of, the whole state is kind of recovering from the election, so that's on the agenda. I've talked to Marie DeYoung, who is the minister at the Unitarian Church on the coast, and we've just kind of tabled our discussion for later because she was doing a lot of work with the election. I called her again tonight, she didn't answer. That's about all I've done as far as outreach. We still have, no one's talked to NAACP. Martha was supposed to speak with, I forgot the guy's name, but one of the civil rights leaders from a while back that did some of the beach sit-ins and whatnot, to integrate the beach and whatnot. So we're reaching out to civil rights icons on the coast as well. I think that's all for that. Yes.
Actually, I have a couple questions. When did you say the IBEW CLO meeting is? The last Thursday of the month?
Okay, it's usually the fourth Thursday, and it's either going to be the third Thursday. What date is that?
The third Thursday is the 17th.
The 17th.
24th is the fourth Thursday.
Okay, and then he also said it might be Wednesday the 30th. It's either going to be before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving. And November 17th actually is a national day of action.
Yes.
For all Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Together. They're calling for a general strike on Wall Street itself. So.
What was it about the teachers? You were tabling that for later?
No, American Federation of Teachers. I'm saying I've talked to one of the ladies there, and she's excited about building a coalition with us. And the next biggest issue in teacher union land is PERS, retirement, teacher retirement. So we need to fight them trying to take away teacher retirement. that's it as far as outreach. Does anybody have any questions about that? Your
That
your
actually
next
is my
thing?
question. I think we need to get onto websites.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, that's not why I had this, is because I didn't understand where we were. I would like to figure out if we can put together like a list of things we would want on the website, like what we stand for, things like that. Because I don't want it, because I didn't start, because I didn't know what y'all would want on the website, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't anything that everybody did. I mean, everybody agreed on. That wasn't something everybody agreed on.
Nationally, there are lots of things put out by Occupy Wall Street that I would be okay with copying and pasting, just in a general way. The other thing, I do think we need to get some solidarity and some clarity on local issues. And I think we can, that was one of the things that I was asked in the interview from WLOX is what things locally you support. I didn't really have much of an answer. So that's my input on that. So go ahead, Kat. I'm gonna come back to you.
As soon as I remember.
Teresa.
I was just gonna say it would be great, you know, if members of our occupation could write something like blog posts, you know, articles that we can post on our website, you know, it could be like,
I actually can arrange that.
yeah.
It would be called members pages and forums. I could set that up. And the only thing is I don't know how, don't have all the email address. Yes. Wait, no,
You're not the chair.
Yeah.
Al had something and then Helen.
Yeah, I think what you have is a wonderful idea. I think you ought to put together what your idea is, submit it as a committee, get with 2 or 3 people, and submit it to the group, and then run with it. You know, but we need to see what your idea is on paper. You can just pen and ink it, you know, links to here, links to this, and how you're gonna put it all together, and then present it to us, and then you could run with it. I mean, if the committee, if the group has it.
And that was exactly what I was gonna say.
I remember.
Go ahead.
Occupy Together has just about all the information that we're gonna need.
Yeah, he goes to that.
Yeah.
I'll probably just link into that. That's gonna be easy.
Yeah.
Yes, Tom.
Is there a communication and PR committee
Yes.
as such?
Yes.
Who is on that? You're the,
I've just been doing
The Facebook.
the Facebook,
Yeah.
basically,
But I
and,
She's got
Occupy Together
Twitter.
meetup, she's been with Twitter. As far as direct correspondence with, like, the media.
well, both with the media and also internally, like we're talking about in terms of doing articles and that sort of thing.
I can take that on, I guess, I hadn't really thought of that.
No, I just wondered if there was a committee.
We don't have a committee for that.
Okay.
Not currently.
What were you calling it?
PR, media.
I call it communication and PR.
Just gonna be-
Yes.
Well, that just fixed what I was going to say, as I was going to ask for a list of email addresses to send it to my website too, once I finish it. Oh, I know, you have that, but I was told, yeah, I'll have that.
I have a question. We've been amongst each other too, someone that communicates.
Well, no, I was thinking more in terms of being able to communicate essentially with an outside public.
Right.
So that would be the capability of Facebook or a website, but also someone that the media could also interface with, like
Right.
you did with WLOX, because that was a spur of the moment thing.
Right.
And you were just hit.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, which is okay.
I agree.
Which is okay.
Okay. I'm gonna get to that again later. Anything else for committee reports? Any other action? I know, Ryan said, I have somebody that would be good for legal representation. I've talked to David Rizzolera. He's just kind of lukewarm and kind of disorganized. He's not like his brother Melvin.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. So, but Ryan said I did talk to someone from ACLU for a bit too about getting legal representation. I just need to follow up on that some more. That's the other thing that we talked about as far as committee. Okay. Next thing, I would like to form some kind of think tank or some group of people that is willing to come up with local issues that is important to hear. Who will be willing to do that? I'm just gonna put it off. Kat, what was your name one more time?
Games.
Gaines.
And I will.
Okay.
Let us think more.
Okay, yes, because have your
Yeah, sure.
finger on everything that's
Yeah.
going on locally, so that would be awesome. Even if you just email it to these guys or something, just a general list of what you think, and you can just go with that for now. And that will really help with talking points. Okay, having local issues. You know, I really think this PERS thing is going to be a big issue here, real quick. PERS, P-E-R-S. It stands for something. I don't know what it stands for, but it's teacher retirement.
It's all state employees return.
It's all state employees retirement. Excuse me. So, all right. Okay. This next thing is kind of what you're talking about. Who's doing what as far as committees? I'm on the outreach committee and the facilitator committee. That's it for me for right now. We have, communications, is it called? Media, Facebook guys?
Yeah, I guess it would be.
Internet.
communication.
Okay.
Eric works media, but he's not here, so I don't know what he's been doing.
Okay.
He and Ryan are actually both the media team.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Got a
James.
list of all the committees that we know of.
Yes, that's what I want you to help us do right now.
What?
This committee, these people. This committee, these people.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
He's like, I've got too many tabs
And like,
open.
email it, put it on Facebook, all that, if you can.
Committee membership. Okay, media is just Eric, right?
Media is Eric and Ryan.
Here's one.
Okay, communications
Is this
Kat, Aaron, and Teresa. Right?
Yes, we need more people for the
Co-worker.
PR part of that.
Facilitation, Derek.
No, it needs to be,
What was the other one?
I think Ryan would be good. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna appoint him.
Facilitating,
He
yeah.
has facilitated.
He has
Yeah,
facilitated.
he has.
Anybody else?
In a pinch, I can pull it up.
Put Aaron on that. No females?
I've brought every organization I've ever belonged to, so I certainly should be able to.
I'll put your name before Aaron since he was reluctant.
He's always reluctant.
My only problem is remembering the signals. Maybe games.
What was the other committee you were on?
Outreach is Martha and I and Tom. I remember you said you wanted to do some of that, right?
Well, I did that, but I also said communication.
Okay. Would you like to be on outreach too, or no?
Yeah, I would, because I have some ideas.
Communication. Tom wants to know communications.
I'll be on communication when it has to do with writing.
Yeah, that's what I'm good at is writing. I don't wanna
You
be
mean
on
like-
TV.
Like letters to the editor.
Alright.
Martha, I think
Yeah, go ahead.
suggested that we write kind of basic letters that different ones would be willing to sign, who might not wanna write them, and they could change it in whether they wanted to, just sort of form letters that, people could then fill in or shift things around that, so nobody wants to have their name in there that often. I certainly don't.
I will.
And so we could all, have a letter to send every once in a while, and
I
if
can
you
make
wanted
a
to
stack of
change.
letters that y'all can pick from.
Yeah, exactly,
Because
exactly.
Yeah,
that's the
'cause
kind
you
of
have
thing that I can
nothing
do,
else
Hold
right?
on, let's get organized here.
Yeah, that's what I
Let's
was
go.
talking about.
who wants to stack on this? Just committees in general, committee census, who's on what committee, all that stuff. Al, Gaines, go ahead, Al.
I know it's off point, but you gotta be careful what you're putting out. I don't mean to sound paranoid, but, yes, you gotta be open, yes, you gotta be, but you gotta be careful about your internal structure and what you're putting out there. Yes, we have these committees, but to put out individual names and things, I think you're exposing yourself. And this comes from the ISO protest that came in San Diego against the Minutemen on the border and these other things like this. You gotta be a little bit careful about who you are and what you're doing. You do have to be open to what you're doing, everything else, but, I just point out, that's all, and consider that.
Gaines?
My thing is, I have two different things to say. First, if we did not want whoever would be against us to get into our website, I can set up a password, and I'll send it out with the address to the website. And my second thing is do we have a more complete list of the addresses? Email addresses.
More complete list than what?
Like more than just tonight.
What we have tonight?
We have this.
I've sent you one before, actually.
Oh, you
Or
did?
maybe I sent it by BCC. No, I use CC.
Okay, Kat? Regarding it.
Fibromyalgia. It affects your brain.
Okay. I have a question, what you brought up, Al, are you talking about, like, on Facebook, putting your name on what committees or what?
No, that's fine. You
Okay.
wanna be open. I'm just saying, the internal structure that you guys, who's individual, what committee, might be a little bit more information than you wanna have as public knowledge. Now, enclosed within the group, that's fine. Everybody should know who's in what committee. You know, we're a big group and we need to know, we need to work together, but outside, you know, and it's something to be aware of, so.
Tom?
Just to add to what I was saying, one of the strengths that was observed about Occupy Wall Street in the beginning, and even now to a certain extent, is the fact that the outside press, in particular outside media, had no place to go to ask that they could attack, in effect, from the outside and make fun of or ridicule or discount what was going on. It was like we're all leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is no single leader,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore there is no single well-defined philosophy. You know, it's inclusive, like we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in terms of what Al's saying, it's important that whatever we put out to be a consensus about what it is that's being displayed to the public, you know, so that it's not defined by any one person or any particular individual.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact, we discussed that in great detail.
Gaines?
What I had to say is, Al, I think that we need to come up with when we can talk about our committees. Wait, can you just repeat what you said?
I was off point. I was just making a point. We're talking about committees, and I pulled the whole subject off to something else. I
Okay,
apologize,
sorry.
but
I
we
thought
need to
that,
stay
I
on
thought
subject.
that you were talking about something different. I apparently confused everybody. Sorry.
Alright, that's a good point, we'll get back on. Communications, facilitators, outreach, internet, is that a separate than communications, or is,
Maybe it should be
internet website? From what I remember, it's like,
social media.
it's Aaron and Gaines,
We'll make us
Yeah,
the social
working
media
back and
committee
forth.
for Facebook and Twitter.
and a website. Even though it's not really social
Yeah,
media.
yeah.
I'd almost would just rather call it internet committee
Yeah.
or something. Interweb committee.
Web committee.
Okay, if
Web
that's the
committee,
case,
so.
do we need the PR and communications? Or can we just put that PR?
Well, I mean, that's kinda separate, so I'm doing it like that.
You could do that, I'm trying to,
Sorry.
talking to Kat, but you two, yeah. PR is different than that. PR is about what kind of talking points do we wanna have with the press, who's gonna talk to the press, that kind of thing. Okay. And,
And this also includes things like, letters to the editors or something.
Like
or
what?
whatever. So I'm gonna put you on there just because you already talked to them.
Yeah, you can put me on that. The other thing is, I think that us four need to kind of get together and talk about what our talking points are gonna be and bring it back to the group. And that's Tom, Helen, Teresa, and I. What are we gonna, what's gonna be our plan of action when and if the press come up? And what's gonna be our plan of action if and when we want to send a letter to the editor? Whatever that is. I've sent something in already, just really
I
know
know,
it, but.
I
Go
thought
ahead.
that was a very good letter, and, I also think we need to get on things like, announcing in the events of the week, which
Okay.
is certainly not anything controversial, just that we're gonna have this meeting coming up, so we need to establish that connection with the newspapers and with the television station.
Yes. I know one thing, another one, food. There needs to be a food committee. Okay.
What would be required of somebody on the food committee?
Figuring out, you know, this is where it gets funny, you know, cause it's like, who's staying over? I mean, there needs to be some sense of, socialistic sharing of food.
Well, I just mean like who's in charge of getting the food or what, I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't understand.
let's stack on that, 'cause, oh well, I really don't know how it works. All I know is that when I was at Jackson, people brought food and they already had food there sitting over there already, donuts, coffee, and, and the other committee we definitely have to do is have a treasurer committee. Where we need, there is a certain amount of money that we need to do things. So let's, I mean, I really don't know exactly how it's gonna work, so let's stack on it and see what happens. Al, Gaines.
Things have become more clear to me. If I understand what you're trying to do here, but, what the purpose, what are you trying to accomplish? What's the objective? What?
That's gonna come up at the very end, okay? And that's just gonna be open forum, you share whatever you're feeling, okay? And, one of the committees is working on a local issues kind of thing. The rest of the issues I have taken from Occupy Wall Street that's on the website as my own personally. And I think that pretty much it's in general agreement around the room too. The only thing that we have to really kind of figure out is what we're gonna focus on locally. You know, the poster, shut down the postal service, that kind of thing. And we can talk about that here in a minute. The other stuff that we have to, I think, figure out too is all logistics as well.
I think, if you don't mind getting a little input here, I think it would be wise if you center in on one idea and eliminate all the confusion. And by doing that, you can put together an agenda that not only that every one of us can relate to. Otherwise, it would screw us and having an open discussion and pulling together what you call brain tank, so we can throw our ideas in. That's a wonderful thing, but to have something basic to go on.
Can you table that idea until we get to, because right now we're on, like, trying to figure out how we're gonna eat if we're gonna occupy, if and when we're gonna occupy. So, and like I said, a lot of this stuff will materialize once we are like waking up next to each other, seriously. So, I hear what you're saying, but I wanna kinda stay on topic a little bit. Al?
Logistics that I've seen in San Francisco and San Diego, there was a second site where the food was kept. Every time they've got raided and drove through, they lost everything that they had at the site. So having another site to bring in your logistics, something close by, such as food, I don't know how much they're gonna let us get away with cooking things there, but we basically set up a table in an area. This is where we can eat, and everybody was invited that showed up. And it wasn't a soup kitchen, but it was everybody that was around, and everybody joined in, numbers grew. And It allowed discussion, it was the typical time to meet. So having another off-site location as our main logistics depot, whatever you want to call it, and then being able to have people go to that site and be able to bring back what we need. Medical is another issue. Have another area strictly in medical. Have someone with a first aid or someone we can call that can be there for, because if you're there for a long term, there's things that come up, as we all know, living in tents for a long term time. So addressing those concerns and having those already logistically set up ahead of time, dry sleeping bags, how are we going to wash the clothes, how are we going to bring in, you don't want to sleep on the ground, there's mattress pads, you know, how are we going to acquire this stuff, what do we need to safely do this for a long time. You need another site to do this, and you need someone that's contact with the site and back and forth and what happens.
Would you like to be on the food committee? Okay. And we do need a medical committee or like self or care committee.
If you put it within logistics, I think you could find members to take within that particular committee to be the logistics committee. Here's the food, here's the medical, because they're not exclusive, because I think you bring the same things to the site, so I think we can.
Okay. I like having like one committee with more people versus separate. So logistics committee. I like that.
Logistics committee?
Yeah. Includes food, medical. Anybody else want to speak to that? Go ahead.
I think that it should be under Treasury Committee.
Logistics?
No, not logistics,
They're gonna
I
have
mean
to.
food, because if we have to buy food supplies for health, we have to buy medical stuff, we have to buy the medical stuff.
Understand.
Go into the store to get it. So truthfully, that should be under Treasury, and then we maybe should have two different committees to. It should be under two different committees, like one. Not just scratch that idea. But.
Yes, Aaron.
Now, the logistics committee can communicate with the Treasury Committee as per their needs, and something can be worked out.
The logistics committee could be in contact with all the committees, actually, to make sure that everybody's getting what they need from everybody else.
Right. Also, the danger in having the money also be in control of a bunch of other stuff is very dangerous. And as a side note, that has been a big threat to the unity of many that's been the biggest threat to individual occupations. Probably more than getting kicked out by the cops is money. Because, you know, in my opinion, this is a spiritual movement, and money and spirituality have a tough time mixing. Okay? So, yeah, it's happened in Portland, it's happened in New York, it's happened all over where a couple of rogues stole the money or did their own thing or whatever. So it has to be, the treasury thing is going to be tough. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. So logistics committee, we have Al and Kat. Would you like to speak?
I believe Eric is on the Treasury Committee.
He is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I won't be able to be on that committee.
Logistics or treasury?
Either, I won't be here.
Okay.
Yeah, you're looking towards an occupational committee, and you're trying to pull together so that you can protest whatever it is that you're aiming to try to improve upon, whatever it is. But if you look at Mississippi, it's a very conservative state, and the people here, I don't think they're ready for something that's slam and dunk. You know, I mean, it's not going to happen. So, you know, I would think that if you really want to affect something, you should try to do it in a diverse manner of bringing people together in a short period of time instead of occupying. You know, maybe having a park, an assembly in a park, and putting out flyers and getting people to meet, and then they'll just walk in with no food, nothing, just sit down.
Point of processing that we've talked about that, and our next meeting is going to be at 4 p.m. at the park, and at that general assembly, I'm not going to be there, but those people that are there will decide what if they're going to stay or not, and if it flies, it flies. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Yes.
I'd like to interrupt just for a moment, but it seems relevant for what I hear in your meeting right now. Could I go by here? Back here's where I'm going, sorry. Okay. I laid out there a couple of reprints. One of them is from Move On about the November 17th event and what they're trying to organize, and I guess you got it in your email too. Oh, well, there it is, and we can run more copies if you need. And another one is off of the New Orleans Humanist Society discussion group, and it's about the development of police violence in Oakland and various places, and how for many, many years the national insecurity has been promoted and to make people afraid, and with the idea among some elitist groups that feel threatened by the other 99%, that any dissent is going to be violent, is going to be terrorist. And that's not the need. The powers that be have got all the terror in the world. And I'm even afraid the United States, as a dying empire, out of frustration will use nuclear weapons because the rest of the world will be our enemy and make the whole world uninhabitable. It's possible these days. Anyway, so that's those two piles of reprints there. And I would like to invite you to something a week from today at this place. We have been having a documentary viewing, and these are three of the things that we have put on in that process. Once a month, the second Wednesday. This month, with 5 Wednesdays, we've moved it to the third. And it's a double header. We're going to do two different things that come out of a couple of national organizations that are sponsoring house parties in hundreds of places around the country. One of them is called Move to Amend, sponsored by Public Citizen and a bunch of other collaborators. And they have a half-hour address by Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont, about that issue of a constitutional amendment that will undo what the Supreme Court did to let corporations who have wealth to invest for profit, that's their job, invest in political power is a cheap way to make profit for those guys, and it doesn't serve the human purposes that political power really should serve. Okay, that's from 6 to 8 in the evening, and then from 8 o'clock on, from Move On, they've had a campaign about reviving the American dream of people having a chance to achieve what they're capable of. And it's a teach-in. They have a slideshow presentation about the economy and how it is that 1% of wealthy people are putting up a wall and keeping the other 99% from having any power, and the democratic gestures are only a symbol anymore. The politicians that survive are the ones that are sellouts and are sold by commercial media propaganda, These guys are professionals at bending public opinion for their sponsors, the advertisers, and they know what they can get away with, and it doesn't have to be true, just repeat it over and over. So, I have a few copies of this invitation for a week from today here, if anybody is interested, and I'll put them over here.
You know,
Thanks.
you can talk about the oligarchy, the imperialistic government that we're living under. You can turn around and cite 1,001 things, but there's one thing for sure, and this going back ever since the people begin to barter, and this is something to keep in mind. Our enemy is not necessarily the corporations, although we may think they are. Our enemy happens to be that which controls us through debt, the banks, the banketeers, because they're the ones who influence the whole world. And if we don't turn around and start directing our energy towards the people who really do have a great effect on us, then we're going to be controlled by the maybe 2,500 corporate executives that happen to be in power and throughout the world. And they're all corporate executives that run monopolies on our lives.
Yeah.
So, you know, so what your agenda is to turn around, I would think, when you're trying to do the same thing they did in occupying Wall Street. You're trying to, you know, raise the people's level of consciousness, get them to see that their votes can count, and eventually they can make a change. This is probably where you're all coming from. But you know, and Malcolm X once said it, and I believe it. Power's never won, it's taken. And if you think for one moment that playing ball with these people is going to help, you're wrong. Because they'll snuff you out.
Talk about that later, but can we get back and
Yeah.
finish the...
Derek,
Yes.
Where are we on the agenda?
Yeah,
Would that
okay,
these
yes,
things come
absolutely, yeah,
under
absolutely,
open
I understand.
Let's
forum?
get back.
Would these comments come under
Right.
open forum?
Yes, I actually think that I think the committee situation is done for now.
Yeah, we need to find people to be on this logistics committee, but
We need more people to be on the,
we have created it, but it
we have
hasn't.
nobody on the logistics committee.
Well,
Cat's on it.
as far as like the food portion of it, I mean, I can cook for large quantities of people. Used to work in kitchen, a couple different restaurants. I mean, as far as the preparation for it and figuring out just what ingredients and what supplies we need for the food portion, I can pretty well handle that.
Most of the difficult part is just going to be working with you know, who's paying for it. That's going to be the hardest part. Is figuring out a fair way that happens. And some people amongst us may not be able to afford anything. So, but that's one of the things that we're trying to figure out nationally, is that people who don't afford anything probably still deserve to eat. So, that being said, I would like to move on past the committees. Any other comments about that
Are you
subject?
okay by yourself? Or just...
Oh no, we're gonna need more people.
I know.
We're gonna need more people, but let's let that kind of be organic for now, so to speak. I'd like to move on to anything else anybody wants to bring up at all. And I'd like to propose that we kind of be done within 10 to 15 minutes.
I agree.
Okay? Everybody cool with that? Okay, so let's aim for 7:10. We'll probably end up being 7:15. So anybody, I have one thing that I would like to say, and I think I've lost it all of a sudden. Anyway, anybody want to speak on anything?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. Al.
I just wanted to address where the Occupy comes from is from age-old protests, which you're probably aware of. The factory sit-in where workers take possession of the 1%'s means of accumulating their excess wealth, who actually possess their factories, they have to deal with it, okay? This is where this is coming from. And it's also a non-violent program with passive strength of a group, such as Martin Luther King, Gandhi, and everybody else is involved with it. So when you put this together, you're not occupying the factories and their possessions. You're occupying a public place that puts the battle right in their face that we exist. And the longer that you're there, and the longevity of it, is the success of it. We have to be there for as long as it takes until they get so sick of us that they can't use the cops anymore to chase us away, and they have to start confronting the issues that are at hand. And the issues are generic because there's many different generic things that are affecting us. If you want to go to one particular one, you're losing the protest. This is about a whole gamut of abuses that the 1% has done against us. The banking industry, the CEOs, all these individuals that you're saying, it's not our job to pick one. It's our job to complain as a group and say, look, it's enough. And that's what we're doing. We're all joining together in a public place, occupying, getting in their face and saying, you know, enough is enough.
Well, you know, if you look at Argentina, 1967 was probably the 7th richest nation in the world, okay? And now it's a third-class nation.
No, I don't agree, disagree.
Well, I've been there, and you can see people in the street, full families, you know, living under cardboard boxes. You get others living the life of Riley. And those so-called buildings that they built, those monumental banks and what have you, they're not, it's empty office space. You know, and I look at it this way, maybe I'm wrong, but I think Argentina is a perfect example of how a country can be manipulated by the corporate world and controlled by banks and the political set of events that have led them to where they are right now. And we're in the same position, and if we don't watch it, we're going to become a third-class nation.
So, I'd like to go ahead.
I think you ought to limit the time to everyone speaking.
Well, this is the last thing on the agenda.
This is the last thing, and I do want to be as inclusive as possible, no matter what, because I guarantee you there are more things that y'all agree on and disagree on. I can almost guarantee it. And I'll speak at the end. I want to go ahead and let other people talk. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, how many of you guys have read The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein? You've read it? You've read it? It's a very excellent book. It discusses some of the issues that he's talking about with Argentina. And Argentina is just one of many examples of the same kind of thing going on. Of course, you know, their situation is very specific. But then, you know, you go to the Chile project, which is essentially where it all started. You know, I mean, there's some really disturbing things going on here all across the world that I think a lot of Americans don't even really know anything about. You know, so I just wanted to make that recommendation to those of you who haven't read that book.
Klein's what? The Shock what?
Naomi Klein.
I know Naomi Klein.
The Shock Doctrine.
Yeah, I don't personally.
What's your name?
I think Ed had
John?
something. He
Ed?
had something
You
like
go
that.
Well, I just want to say that these, one of the beauties of this Occupy thing, I believe, is to stay diverse. I mean, people have different levels of education, and some people have probably delved into it and know a heck of a lot more. I mean, part of the problem in the country is that people are pretty much brainwashed. They're not really educating themselves. They haven't gotten the curiosity up yet. And I believe to keep it more diverse, I think we're more likely to, more people will start perking up and saying, what the heck is going on, you know? And I know there are a couple of issues that I feel strongly about that I'd like to just focus on, but I think we're better off with this strategy that I think is quite wonderful. What's that?
Anybody else want to speak to that? Yes.
Not really to that. I just wanted to ask Teresa if she could send me the different committees through the email.
Yeah, I'll send you the whole minutes through the email. And I'll send it actually to everybody so that you'll have the email list too.
Oh, thank you.
Are we compiling another email list for tonight?
Yeah, I wondered what happened to it, because the list.
And Linda took
I
it
think
back
I
to
have most people's email on
Linda
here.
took it, and
I
I
don't
think
think
she's
I have
making
Holly's
copies.
email.
Yeah, I asked for make copies.
Yeah.
But I think most everybody else has been here when I got the emails.
I wrote my email down last
Yeah,
time I was
but
here.
I don't think I got that list from last time.
Oh,
The list I
okay.
had was from the time before.
Yeah, I think you left a little early and I'd left it with somebody up
Yeah.
here at the table.
Yeah.
And Linda wasn't here, so I think it went to the back and never came back out.
Okay, a number of things, and I didn't bring this with me, I just kind of thought about it. There is on Tuesday nights at, I believe, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock Central Time, there is a national webinar put on by Occupy Together. Okay, and I had the link, I put the link on the Facebook page, I'll do it again. It's very enlightening if you really want to find out like what people are doing specifically within the movement. That's a really good way, and to hear how a General Assembly is kind of done too, on the webinar too, it's very interesting.
Learn a lot what's going on through Ohio right now.
Hold on one
The
second.
union there's done a damn good job.
Yeah.
And you can, if you wanna learn, you can learn from them.
Absolutely, but you know, what I was gonna say is that, and to do this, so because we're trying to work out a way where it's, people are talking over each other, that kind of thing. The other thing is about having, that diversity that you talked about, is it makes it less easy for people to pigeonhole us. That's really probably the most unique part of it, is because in the past, you get a leader and they get shot, okay? Or you get somebody that just wants to focus on this one thing, and then you get branded a certain name, and it gets destroyed as far as its image. And now we're kind of learning, and people are almost making up stuff about what it's about, that is even more powerful than what we're doing. People are talking about economic inequality now much more than they did 6 months ago. Right. Way more. And I saw an ad an hour ago from Chevron trying to fix its image, right? Already saying that we put all this money back into the community. Okay? And so people are starting to, we're changing the way what people talk about. And people are like, well, did the consumers change the feedback, or did Occupy Wall Street do it? No one will really know, but as impressionable as Americans are, you've got to believe that some consumers, even though they never went to Occupy in the world, were influenced by the message that's being put out there on the news. So it's already happening, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'm done.
I just want to quickly reinforce what you said, because about 9 months ago, I started a blog site, and I started writing about this subject, and it was almost nobody else writing about it, only a few people in distant places, and like you say, it's now a common language. It's common discussion everywhere, but also to reiterate that point you were making about making ourselves too vulnerable by subject to attack from outside. Michael Gerson from the Washington Post wrote a blog editorial this past week in which he just goes off the deep end about the Occupy movement. I mean, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't been with them, and he's just made stuff up. But that's going to happen. We want to minimize that, I think, with the vision or the image that we convey, for example.
I just have a really practical question. Where do I go on Facebook to get our information?
I just search Occupy Biloxi.
Occupy Biloxi.
If you do search for it, it comes up.
It comes right up.
It's Occupy Biloxi.
The Facebook access? Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Kath?
I can actually email you a link to the Facebook page if you'd like.
Okay, that'd be great, but I think I can do it.
Quick question.
Al and then Tom. Go ahead, Al.
Well, I just wanted to ask a quick question about the other thing you said about that webinar. Has that already been broadcast? Is there a link to that now that you can see it?
There is a link.
Is it repeated? Or is it just?
It's a live meeting.
Okay.
That goes on weekly on every Tuesday.
Okay. Okay. But there's no record of the past ones.
There was someone that copied it. They actually meant to record it and they forgot at the last one.
Okay, that's all.
But yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They send out the minutes on those meetings. If you go and sign up to go watch it, they'll send you the copy of the minutes after the meeting, even if you don't watch it. So, and also for everybody that's on these committees, little learning processes. I'll try to post it on the Facebook page, but it's Global Revolution. It's live streaming.
I know that. Yeah.
And they go to all the cities: Austin, Oakland, New York, and you'll see their speakers. You'll see their general assemblies. It's all live.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Good.
I'll post that on the Facebook.
Something I just passed out. New Orleans is having a concert on 11/11/11 Saturday. the guy that organized it emailed me, pretty cool. Basically, and it's true, especially for New Orleans, nothing gets done without music, so, that's what they're doing there, so if you're looking for something fun to do. And I guess, this is what I would like to propose. And I can keep it for now. I would like to have a basket or hat passed around at every General Assembly. Okay, what do y'all think?
Yeah, like the self-funding.
Can we use your hat?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, pass it around.
Well, we don't have our treasurer here.
Like I said, I'm gonna keep it for
Whoever
now.
has money.
I'll hold it for now. If it's only my money for now, that's fine. It's just gonna be what it is. While we're doing that, does anybody, I mean, it's about time.